Welcome, everyone. We're pleased to see you this morning. Thank you for joining us to discuss the Living Shorelines Planning Series. The purpose of today's webinar is to provide an overview of our RFP process and answer any questions you may have about that. So we're really excited. Can you flip to the next slide, please? Thank you. We're very excited to be again partnering with the Nature Conservancy. My name is Joan LeBlanc, and I'm the Coastal Hazard Resilience Program Director for Northeast Regional Ocean Council. Many of you may know that we are a regional entity. We work across Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island on various strategies related to sustainable coastal and ocean management. And our work on Living Shorelines has been a deep and productive partnership with the Nature Conservancy for many years now. And this project is sort of our next step in that series. We've been working together to try and expand knowledge about living shorelines and also provide tools and expertise to bring the practice forward in a hands-on way, whether that be permitting or tools for monitoring or information about designs and approaches that work best in certain areas. So our plan for today is we have about a 25-minute overview of this. Then we'll launch into the Q&A as Rebecca discussed. And if we're not able to answer all your questions today, I did want to let you know that we will be compiling a written Q&A that will be posted to the NROC's website following this webinar. We also plan to post this recording, so you don't need to take detailed notes. This will also be available on our website. So a little bit about what we're doing here and some of the partners. So I mentioned we have the Nature Conservancy again working with us. Dan Goulart is a Coastal Management Program Director over at the Massachusetts office of the Nature Conservancy. We're also working with Steve Kirk. And then our technical partners here are the Woods Hole Group. We have Adam Finkel, Brittany Hofnagel, and Mary Scholl. And we've also brought in Stone Living Lab. Both of these organizations have deep experience in living shorelines, as well as the educational components around that. So we're excited to have Rebecca Shore, who you heard from at the beginning, from Stone Living Lab with us as well. Regionally, I mentioned the scope for NROC and where we work. This project has that same footprint, working across the Northeast. And again, we're hoping to bring this effort to fund some projects in every one of the states. So the idea is that by the end of all of this, we will engage with local partners in both curriculum, understanding, and practice. So this team, I'm excited, has the expertise to bring that with you. And I do want to also mention that all of our work is in partnership with the coastal programs at the various states. So Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island. We work very closely with the coastal zone management programs and other state agency folks. And lastly, but not least, funding for this is provided by NOAA. We're very appreciative of funding from the BIL, source of funds for this project, and also the Nature Conservancy is an additional partner in funding. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Dan Goulart. Dan?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Just want to give a quick overview of this program and a little bit of background. So this whole planning series concept sort of emerged from an existing SNP program called the SNP Stormwater Planning Series that I attended a bunch of years ago. And I really thought that this could translate over to Living Shorelines, which in my mind was just a few years behind green stormwater as sort of an accepted concept across communities in New England. And just from observations that just about every coastal town up and down the New England coast has some kind of project along their shoreline that's been getting pushed down the road because of sort of a lack of planning capacity or a lack of understanding with how to go forward with a coastal nature-based approach to resilience. So, worked with SNP and worked with the folks at Woods Hole Group and Stone Living Lab and NROC to sort of pull together a concept that would implement two big goals, which would be build capacity in municipalities and deliver a concept design with some additional documentation and narrative to help jumpstart some living shorelines projects across the coast in each of the coastal New England states. I really think that municipalities really are the key, and partnerships between municipalities and nonprofits are really, I think, where the magic happens because my experience is that municipalities are very heavily taxed. They have a lot going on. It's not an easy task to run a town or a city, and having a nonprofit come in alongside you to help with some of the management and expertise on restoration is a really great partnership and pairing. So, we kicked this off in September of last year, and we've been developing curriculum in the application, and the RFP went out about a week and a half ago. I'm really excited to be getting emails from everybody across New England with questions about whether the projects are a good fit. I've been getting those answers out in a pretty timely manner. And we're looking at, selecting from all the applications that we do receive somewhere in the late February, early March timeframe, and then kicking these planning series off throughout the summer, and then delivering on concept designs for towns in the early fall.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Mary Scholl. I'm a coastal scientist with Woods Hole Group. We're part of the project team here for this initiative. I'm just going to walk you all through our RFP, just break down the different sections. Starting with the program overview, we're going to walk through the timeline, program objectives and outcomes, who's eligible for this program. We'll talk a little bit about the financial commitment and then about the details of the planning series curriculum that we've designed, as well as how to apply, the evaluation criteria we're using to assess the applicants, and then contact information if you need to ask more questions. So just to go over again, this is all stated in our PDF documents that are part of the application, but our timeline here is well, the webinar is today, February 17th. We distributed the RFP on February 2nd. We're aiming to have the application deadline by March 3rd, with final decisions and award notifications to our 10 recipients by mid to late March. And we anticipate kicking off the program at the beginning of April, with I think our first training session happening within the first week of April. So the overall duration of the program should last until the fall of 2026, and it will entail 5 virtual sessions, 1 in-person site visit with the project team, and we'll get into some more details about those training sessions in future slides. So just to reiterate what's stated in the RFP are program objectives here. This planning series is designed to first support the development of Living Shoreline project implementation. We are also aiming to improve community capacity to secure funding, identify, plan, design cost-effective Living Shoreline projects. We also aim to improve access to information and resources about living shorelines, including increased understanding of permitting mechanisms and processes. And then through this process, we are hoping to provide a rather streamlined application for you all that minimizes kind of a lengthy, more formal grant application process. So what can participants expect to get out of this planning series? To start, we hope that you all can get an industry standard conceptual design and project narrative for your Living Shoreline project. So this is really just to help you kick off an initial concept idea. This would also include an opinion of cost and anticipated maintenance and monitoring requirements for your Living Shoreline project. Through the trainings, we would have you develop an inventory of stakeholders to engage in future phases of your project, and then an improved understanding of how to scope and discuss Living Shoreline projects with regulatory and permitting agencies, engineers, consultants, the like. So the idea really is to position participants to be able to apply for future funding opportunities and really advance these projects through design, permitting, and construction. So as far as eligibility, this is open for applicants from any coastal municipality, tribe, or nonprofit located in New England. We are looking for site scale projects, and we've kept this intentionally vague, but what we're really aiming for is not a landscape or regional scale type of project idea, something rather local and at the site level. We again hope to support participants with projects suitable for future funding consideration by existing grant programs. And we also would need applicants to be able to demonstrate ownership, site control, or permission for their site of interest. As far as the financial commitment, so this isn't a standard grant program where you're receiving a set amount of funding that you've asked for with a budget. But the idea is that you're provided with training and one-on-one technical support and then conceptual project designs. So there's no financial commitment or a cash match that's required to participate in this training series, but we do estimate that your staff time would be around 35 to 40 hours to participate in the entire program through this year. So about the planning series trainings, like I said before, we have 5 virtual training sessions and 1 in-person site visit scheduled. We really would like this to be required, or at least everyone can ensure that they're able to attend these 5 sessions if they receive the opportunity. Session 1 is going to be a kickoff and an overview where we're going to dive into more of a problem statement that describes your project site, the kinds of vulnerabilities that you wish to address. The session 2 is more about managing erosion and habitat loss with living shorelines. So participants will learn about different shoreline types and living shoreline approaches and sort of the design life for different coastal environments, depending on your system. Session 3 will be a time for us to schedule in-person site visits with you all. And then session 4 will be developing draft conceptual designs. So participants will learn about the process for developing these designs, including approximate dimensions, the specific approach, and the incorporation of basic site design factors like wave energy, shoreline slope, the presence of any sensitive habitat. Session 5 will be about permitting and cost design and maintenance and monitoring. So participants will learn about the process of calculating an order of magnitude cost estimate for their project to include design, permitting materials, and labor. And they'll also learn about forecasting future maintenance requirements, as well as the development of a basic monitoring plan to assess maintenance or adaptation needs and project success. Session 6 will be about putting it all together and developing key messages. So at the end of the training, participants will present their completed concept designs to the group and then discuss strategies amongst each other for tools for stakeholder engagement and education, and really start to evaluate their next steps for advancing these conceptual designs through final design, permitting, and hopefully construction. So this is an overview of these sections. This is really the main a main component of this series that we hope you all can really benefit from. I'm going to dive into the actual application form. So the application template is hosted through Google Forms, which you all should have received a link to through our various ways of sharing the application. At the start of the Google form, you'll see clickable links to download the RFP, which is what I've just gone over, as well as a PDF that's just a list of the 5 separate narrative questions for you to answer, just to have as a reference as you're going through the application. The application starts with these basic answers to respond to as in the form. So having a project title, listing your municipality, organization, or tribe. We want you to list your primary point of contact and any additional staff that'll be part of your project team. As far as location details, we'd like project area coordinates, whether or not you have ownership or site control over the anticipated project area. And then as far as supporting materials, there's an opportunity to upload a locus map just so we understand where you all are interested in working, as well as 1 to 2 site photos that really capture what's going on, what the vulnerabilities might be along your shoreline. So the overview of the actual narrative responses is hold on. So we have 5 different questions, and the application requires different word counts for each question. So just please take a minute to read the questions and respond according to the word count. So our first question is really about a project area and rationale. Can you provide a description of the site characteristics, such as ownership, size, scale, existing habitat, land use in your area, as well as a brief history of impacts and any previous management efforts? We're also looking to really understand at a very general level why you think a nature-based solution is the preferred approach here. For the second question, it's more of the problem statement. We'd like for you to provide a description of the existing challenges that are at the site. So any impacts to public safety, infrastructure, public health, community resources, or natural resources due to storms and sea level rise. Question 3 is about the regional impact of this work. So how would developing a living shoreline at this site align with restoration and resilience goals of existing local, state, or regional plans and priorities? The fourth question is around community engagement. So we're really just trying to get a sense of what the community is surrounding the site. If you could start to generate a list or idea of stakeholder groups that would be affected by or engaged in this work, and any project partners that you would see bringing along through this year's kind of planning process. We're also looking for a description if there's any past outreach, education, or engagement at the site. The fifth question is really just about the project team. So who would be participating in this planning series? Who has the capacity to serve as the local project manager? If you can describe the project team's readiness and capacity to commit to about 40 hours of time through September of this year. And really we're looking for the ability of the project team to have the capacity to advance the project beyond this year's conceptual phase. And I think we are at the end of the presentation. The end of the RFP also lists Dan's contact information, which sounds like many of you have been reaching out, but we are now happy to take any questions. And I can just stop sharing my screen if that's easier.
Thank you, Mary. And while everyone is coming up with their questions, I'll just add one note to the evaluation criteria. We anticipate selecting approximately 10 projects through this RFP, depending on capacity and the scale of applications we get. In addition to the criteria that Mary went over, we'll also be looking a little bit in a holistic manner, an overarching manner across the region, because we would like to provide some support to projects in each of the 5 states. At the same time, we also have the goal of always sharing our knowledge through directly working with these partnerships, but also sharing the results of these partnerships with the broader community. And with that in mind, we will look for a range of Living Shorelines approaches as we do this project. So in other words, we don't anticipate funding 10 of the very same type of projects. So that's just another consideration that we'll have as we look across these applications. What's the best mix of projects that we can help at the local level, but also could provide case studies for everyone throughout the region. So let's take a look and see if there's anything in the Q&A. No one's written anything in the Q&A, but since we don't have a big
Joan,
backlog of questions.
I wonder if it's I can see the questions here, so we do have both.
Oh, great.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm happy to read these aloud from the Q&A, and then as well, a couple folks put them in the chat. So I think some of these questions are probably going to be similar. So if folks don't hear their exact question answered, please let us know. But the first question we have from Frank is, can multiple nonprofits join with municipalities on these projects?
I can answer that question, and the answer is a resounding yes. That would be very much welcome. We are looking for partnerships. Our view is that projects that involve partnerships across the community have much more likelihood of being funded in the long term. So yes, that would be welcome.
Wonderful. And just another question along those lines, and I think a couple folks asked similar ones. How many individuals can the workload be distributed among? Is there a maximum number of participants per project?
I don't think we set a hard maximum. Anyone else have any thoughts on the team? Dan, Mary?
Yeah, I mean, I put 2 to 4 people in the chat. When I participated in the SNAP series, there was 4 of us. Everybody didn't make it to every single session, and I think that's where it's good to have 2 to 3, maybe 4 at the max, so that if someone does need to skip a session, the rest of the team can bring them up to speed.
Yeah, and I think part of this too is that the number of folks involved in the Living Shorelines project can be different than those attending this design sort of series. So that's exactly what Dan's speaking to, is that, maybe 2 to 4 folks per project would be involved with this RFP series, though certainly more folks can be involved in the actual Living Shoreline project at your site. And then we had another question here. Is this project meant for coastal projects, or can it also be along rivers?
We are operating in the coastal sphere, and we're defining that as up into the high tide mark. So estuaries, yes. Headwaters projects, no.
Perfect, thank you. And just over here, Lucas just reviewing some background with your question here. And so, with the context of this project, they were going to hire a design team to assist with master planning. So a question around the design aspect of this project. So what level of design is going to be offered through this program? Will municipalities receive a master plan with recommendations? Really just trying to gauge if this could serve the purpose of their goals to have more funding for a project used in implementation versus planning. So what is the level of planning and sort of design that will be offered?
So I guess I'll start that the standard that we're have mapped out here includes an industry standard conceptual design for living shorelines, along with an associated narrative. There's probably a little bit of flexibility there, depending on where our community is at with their own planning. Mary, did you want to add something?
No, I mean, I think you captured it well. Yeah, I was just going to reiterate that this would be a conceptual plan. So depending on the complexity of the project, I could see there needing to be maybe another stage of planning before implementation. But yeah, it could be different depending on each project, depending on the complexity.
Yeah,
But
and
overall, it's the beginning.
I would just add that, site scale, the town is not going to receive, or the organization is not going to receive a master plan for an entire region or coastal section of town. They're going to receive the conceptual design for the site that was submitted.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. And to reiterate, as part of this program, there's, of course, the group sort of classes and sessions, and then participants will receive that one-on-one sort of quote office hours time to really focus in on their site in particular. I'm going to combine 2 questions here about folks who are allowed to participate. So hoping or wondering if for-profit folks, for example, consultants, can be part of the team, and then also can municipal volunteers, for example, on town boards and committees, be part of a team?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you. So in terms of the party who's actually submitting the application, that needs to be a municipality or a tribe or an NGO. Am I missing anybody there, team? That said, there's no limit on who the partners can be. So if someone has a for-profit entity that they're working with that is going to be part of the team, I don't see any problem with that. but they could not be the primary applicant.
Wonderful. Had a question about if folks have summaries of restoration and resilience goals and priorities that have been identified or standardized across all of the different states in our region. So do we have those resources of sort of what might be the goals of different states in New England with regards to restoration and resilience?
That's a great question. Thank you. We are actually working with our state partners. We're putting together a number of resources that are available. I would say that there are different resources in different states, so there may be a little variation depending on where you are. But we are going to make, to the extent possible, resources available on resilience plans that are available in each state and the goals and associated programs with those as part of our curriculum. Just making sure people have access to those.
Wonderful. Thank you. And this person asked about Massachusetts particularly, but I'll expand it to New England. Is it your impression or is it our impression that states are receptive to these kinds of living shoreline projects at this time?
Sorry, I got distracted reading and listening at the same time. Can you repeat that question?
No worries. Yeah. So just for perspective across the states, is it your impression, NROC, TNC, et cetera, that states are receptive to these kinds of living shoreline projects right now?
Oh, absolutely. Partners have been our active partners in this effort for many, many years. So we're all on the same page in trying to advance the practice of living shorelines and expand knowledge and implementation of successful projects.
Yeah.
Perfect. Love to hear it. And this question that came in through the chat, which I think will be sort of an easy one for us to answer, which of course is, do you have examples of final deliverables from previous cohorts of this that you could share?
Well, we're excited that this is our first cohort. So this would be the inaugural list of projects. And we are on the same page with you in that we very much hope to share the deliverables from each of the sites broadly across the region.
Exactly. And as Dan mentioned, this is sort of modeled after an earlier kind of program with the SNP program and others. So certainly we're using lots of learnings from those previous kinds of workshops. But as Joan said, this is the very first one. So we had a question in the Q&A here, which is specifically about the technical assistance. So sort of a multi-part here. Can you describe in more detail the technical assistance that will be offered, this particularly beyond the learning series? How much help will you offer during or after? Are participants entirely responsible for drafting up the conceptual designs, for example, and must have the design capacity to do that?
That's a really good question. I'll start and then probably shift it over to Dan or Mary. But the way we're envisioning this is that we bring the technical support to the community so they don't have to have that at the outset. But that said, it's very much meant to be an integrated process so that at the end of it, those participating will have been active partners in putting it together so that when the next project comes down the line for that same community or tribe, they have the skills and knowledge to move it forward. What can you add to that, Mary or Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the people who are going to be part of the team should be from job positions within the town, nonprofit, or tribe that are going to be involved in planning and implementing nature-based approaches in the future. So hopefully have a little bit of familiarity. And, in my experience, putting the concept designs together throughout the learning series allows you to really understand each piece in more depth. Um, but I also understand that when we do those as participants, they kind of turn out to be like Frankenstein concept designs. And that's where Woods Hole Group comes in, and they're going to take your participant developed concept design at the end, and they're going to polish that up into a industry standard concept design with an opinion of probable cost, maintenance outlay, and a little narrative that's going to really set you up to go right into that next phase of permit level design and set you up with some good narrative to potentially apply for some follow-on grant funding. Over to you, Mary, if you have anything to add.
No, I think that was a great summary. I don't think I have anything else to add. Just reiterating that the technical assistance piece is provided by us, Woods Hole Group, that we would be able to help develop those conceptual designs and really polish them up for you, so you don't have to have that sort of program yourself.
And Mary's very modest Woods Hole Group has very deep experience in living shorelines, having designed a number of successful sites around the region. Is there any follow-up to that question? I just wanted to make sure we adequately answered that.
I don't see follow-up at the moment, but I'll keep my eyes peeled. Actually, yeah, Lynn, you're welcome to, I see you there if you want to
Yeah.
pop off and yeah, go ahead.
No, that was great. That was super helpful to hear. And I know it is like a pretty technical work, right? Even just developing the maps and the like elevations and the like, I mean, it could get super technical in terms of these conceptual designs. But it sounds like what I'm hearing is that participants can kind of do things, let's say, with whatever tools they happen to have, like, and then Woods Hole will then, if there's a CAD drawing, for example, needed, or if there's some like GIS piece that's needed, like that would be Woods Hole would do that. Um, because to me, that's like a real like asset, right? If that's what you're offering, I'm like,
Yes.
oh, maybe this is worth putting in the 35 hours. You know, if at the
Yeah.
end of the day you're going to get this professional level design handed to to me as a potential participant.
No, I think that's a good assessment. I don't, concept designs are generally not CAD drawings at that phase, but they
Okay.
will be, Woods Hole Group will bring some data collection equipment to the site visit. And you will get, a geo-rectified GIS concept design at the end.
Okay, that's super cool. And then that's kind of within the project period.
Yes.
That so it's
Yes,
like
that's
everything's kind of
deliverable
moving
on our end.
quickly
Yep.
and like lots of iteration within that 4 month or whatever learning series period. Okay, that's super helpful. Thank
Right.
you guys.
And, between those sessions, there's office hours scheduled, which means if you're back out at the site and you're looking at it and you're seeing something and you have questions, you'll be able to come to an office hours session with specific technical questions or just assessment questions and have those answered by a subject matter expert from Woods Hole Group or Stone Living Lab, and then move into the next session well prepared.
Or if you could almost flip that too, right? Like if you're doing a design kind of alongside us, we could come to those meetings with suggestions, right?
Yeah,
But then the
absolutely.
Woods Hole team kind of executes into a pretty drawing. You know what I mean? Like those are two kind of different framings. Um,
Yeah.
okay.
I was just going to add that I think the goal is to have participants understand what they need and what kinds of drawings or information they need to be able to move the project forward in the future. But while knowing that, a consultant team or a technical person can provide those types of figures and designs at this stage and in the future. So we're not necessarily training folks on how to make those designs. We're just trying to encourage that learning process of understanding what you might need, how to talk that talk, I guess, to advance projects with engineers or consultants in the future as well.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you're getting with the Woods Hole Group team is the interaction with the state agencies and guiding and providing some understanding to participants about, what is permittable, what's going to make your project permittable versus what approaches may not be permittable under
Great.
different state regimes and approaches.
So
Perfect.
a couple follow-up notes from some things I'm seeing in the chat here. First off, thanks Julia Neisel for posting a link to some resources that we have on the NROC's website. This project, all of our work on coastal hazards and resilience is through NROC's Coastal Hazard Resilience Committee. And Julia Neisel from CZM, Gavin Jackson from Connecticut, and Danny Boudreau from NOAA are co-chairs of that. So you might want to take a look at those resources. There's a lot of great background information there that might be helpful as you're thinking about different approaches. And then there were a couple other questions. I'll start with the last one here. Are you looking for diversity of types of sites in terms of scale as well as geography? Is there a preference for larger sites or bigger population areas? We're not identifying any preferences regarding population or things like that in advance. We are looking for a diversity of approaches, whether that also translates to a diversity of sites. I guess I would say we'll see, right? But we definitely do want to get some experience and some case studies around a variety of living shoreline approaches. And the reality with these projects is they very oftentimes are hybrids of various approaches being put together for a given site. So, we anticipate that that will probably be the case in many locations. And then we had
And Joan, I just
Heather list.
wanted to add on that we did have another question over in the Q&A box I can see
Thank you.
right along that, which is what level of quote hybrid living shoreline solutions will be evaluated. That is, will partially quote engineered solutions be considered in high energy environments?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when we define living shorelines, we are inclusive of hybrid approaches. So there can be some mixture of gray and green. And there was a question about how we were going to review the applications, the selection process.
Yeah,
And I'm
someone
wondering,
asked if someone could talk about what makes a competitive proposal. For example, how applications will be scored or types of sites you are looking for ideally.
yeah, I was thinking, Mary, maybe we can pop that slide up again, the one that has the various categories. We did try to outline that in the RFP, and we do plan to stick with how it's outlined there, with just the additional look across the region to try and spread the knowledge and expertise across the 5 states, and also try and identify a variety of living shoreline approaches. But in addition, aside from those two kind of broad reaching approaches, Mary's going to pop up the slide again, and we can just review this again. Yeah, so these are our 5 evaluation criteria. We are going to just use the application itself, looking through those different elements and scoring them, and coming out with an overall score for each one based on the different components. I would say one thing that's really important, that we all talked about is the ability to have control over the site. If we get a proposal where we don't see clearly that the applicant has the authorization to do the work, that would be a much lower preference to a project where that's clear. So that's
And
going to be important.
Joan, actually, that's another perfect segue here. Someone did also ask, can town nonprofit private owned land be included in the analysis that a consortium could lead with agreement of private landowners? So what would be sort of the requirement if it was private land for someone to apply for that site?
Yeah, we don't have a limit saying that the land needs to be publicly owned, but we do have a limit where there needs to be permission to actually do the work.
And I would just add to that, we're not, this project is not looking to just address private homeowner land issues. We're looking to address issues on public or publicly accessible coastal lands so that there's a broad public benefit.
That's a good point, Dan. Thank you. And along those lines, a project that demonstrates it supports community goals. There was talk about master plans before. If in a community's goals, they've already identified some coastal resilience priorities, those also fit in with the state priorities. That's going to be something that we would value.
Thank you. And we had a question and actually a great question and suggestion. So first, this is a nitty-gritty question. Is there a specific platform preferred for the locus map? So how are folks adding that to the application?
I believe the upload is just a photo upload or a file upload. I actually might need to check on the format, but I think we were anticipating just like a JPEG file.
Yeah, so nothing too technical there for the locus map. And then
Oh, are you asking? Sorry if I didn't answer that correct. Did I answer that question correctly?
I believe so, yeah. So for the
And
person who's asking, it's part of the Google form. You can upload a file directly into that. And it can be a JPEG, different kinds of files for an image file there.
and I would just say that, if you're going to do a locus map, if you are zoomed way in, you may want to add a second page with a broader map of your region or state or portion of your state with a pin dropped onto it just to get us down to the site itself. A locus map can be difficult if it's too zoomed in onto the site for us to be able to find, or just provide a lat and long down in the lower right-hand corner of the locus map.
Great point.
Yeah,
And then, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, Rebecca, that no pressure to make a very beautiful map. Like we're just trying to understand where the site is. So it can be a rough draft, you know.
Yeah.
We don't need a polished
Yeah.
Pin drop on Google.
Yeah.
Good point, Mary. And we try to make this as simple as possible. I will say that the photos are going to be important because that will help the team get a sense of what exactly the area that you're thinking about in terms of a living shoreline, what it looks like now. And that will help get the team thinking about what types of solutions might work there and a diversity of sites.
Perfect. Thank you. And then this is the last question that I have here. If folks have other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Oh, perfect. Another one just came in. But so the first one is, can you quantify the dollar value of your team's technical assistance? This could be a good enticement for potential partners.
I'm just going to say priceless. I mean, come on. No, I don't know. We haven't actually made that quantification. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that something we could do?
I would say that to hire a design and consulting firm, get them out to your site, go through the iterative process of developing a concept design and engaging the public. I would say you're looking between $75,000 and $100,000 to get a really high quality finished concept design with a OPC and a narrative to go forward with.
So, Joan, I think your answer is, the slickest for an application, priceless. So
I'm happy
I think
with
that's
Dan's
a good
response. That's
estimate,
exactly
Dan.
what I
I'll
need.
just add,
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
if you worked directly with a consulting firm, you wouldn't also get the broader education that's going to be part of this.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I mean, the capacity building and the lessons learned that participants take away from this sort of allows you to get out in your town and look at the whole broader picture and maybe start to develop a master plan that feeds into municipal budgeting or other things with this enhanced understanding that sort of sets you up to be in a much better position. Like Mary said earlier, when you do engage an engineering and design consultant, you're doing that from a much better educated perspective.
Wonderful. And we did have a question pop into the Q&A box, which is, can you just repeat, if there is this sort of limitation, the number of projects that will be selected by state? Is it one project per state, more or less, etc.?
We anticipate selecting approximately 10 projects. I mean, if we have a lot of applications and, they all rise to the top in an equal manner, then we would spread them 2 per state. Will that happen? We don't know. So it will depend on what comes in.
Perfect.
But it is our goal to spread it across the 5 states.
Yes, and to reiterate, that's 10 projects total
Yes,
spread across
correct.
the states. Perfect. And then we did have another question in the chat here, which is about, again, sort of the Woods Hole concept design piece, which is how much time can Woods Hole, the team from Woods Hole Group spend on a conceptual site plan? And I know this is pretty nitty gritty, but if you have an estimate on that.
I mean, it's hard to answer because it's not this isn't a cookie cutter project. Every site's going to be different. Every level of expertise at the local level coming into this will be different. So, I mean, I don't know, Mary, if you're able to make an estimate. But
until October 30th.
Yeah, it's going to vary.
I don't want to misspeak without, I'm not sure, honestly. Brittany, I don't know if you have anything to add.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think Joan covered it. I think, obviously we have technical expertise and staff here to support the development of these concepts, and we're geared to fulfill that effort by the end of the fall. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, if we select someone, it is our goal to meet those deliverables. So we're making a commitment that we're going to work with the team to meet those deliverables. And that includes the conceptual design. And it's assumed that some projects might take longer than others.
Wonderful. So I don't see any other questions in either the Q&A box or in the chat. So I think maybe if we want to wrap and just sort of review the timeline for the application, I can post again in the chat where the different materials live, and then any next steps, and happy to end it there.
That sounds great. Yeah, let's just pop up the slide that shows the timeline again. And while Mary's looking for that, I'll just thank everyone for being here, especially the team, the Nature Conservancy, Woods Hole Group, Stone Living Lab. We are really excited about this team, and we're really excited. We've had a lot of interest at the local level in projects. We're looking forward to seeing what comes in. And if you think of any other questions that come up today, we set a deadline of today, so send an email to Dan Goulart by the end of the day. We will write up the Q&A from today's webinar, as well as anything that comes in on email. And as soon as we can, we'll post that to the NROC website in the link that was shared in the chat. But again, here's the timeline. We are February 17th today on the webinar and the Q&A. Our deadline is March 3rd, so just keep that in mind. That's going to be important. And we'll be moving pretty quickly to make decisions with a program start date of April 1st. And then we'll be deep into it, working throughout the spring and the summer and finishing everything up in the fall. Anything to add, team?
You know, it's a super easy application, so if you're in doubt, just send it in.
Great advice.
Perfect.
Well, with that, thank you all for your time today, and we very much appreciate it and look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thanks for showing up, guys.